could just invite some introductory remarks, maybe 1 or 2 minutes from all of you, and then we can go for some questions. So, maybe on the panel, on the topic of the panel, sustainability and smart systems.
It promotes awareness to our students, as well as the opportunity to brainstorm and actually pick our brains. Having said that, to me, what is sustainability? And sustainability has technical challenges, psychological challenges, socio-economic challenges. So we require to see that in a holistic. Of course, I'm a technical person. I'm comfortable to talk more about the technical challenges. But the other issues, how we can adopt. To me, sustainability is a simple thing. Can we give a better world to our teammates without putting constraint to the last man in the loop, who will be most vulnerable in the system? If we can achieve that, I hope that goal of sustainability. So then how we will do that? Technocrats like us, policymakers, everyone has to do. So that is something we will find open.
Good morning, everyone, and extremely happy to be here at the Analytics Global Conference. Thank you so much for inviting me. I wish I was in the audience with some of you. I see that there are many students here, and I think you are at a time that will see a huge revolution in using of AI, analytics, digital into sustainability. I wish I was with you all in the crowd. I will just share a couple of trends which actually are moving the needle in this direction. One is, as you know, in India we have the SEBI's requirement of the top 1,000 companies who have to compulsorily report not only on themselves but also on their value chain, meaning all their suppliers, all the different MSME organizations who work with them, So all of the entire value chain plus the organizations have to do what is called the BRSR report. You should Google and learn more about it. Business Responsibility and Sustainability Report. And that is a major driver for correct information going into this direction. In addition to this, the other very interesting aspect which is coming in is that the investors are looking for investment grade information on environmental and social governance. You see what has happened today, that the organization, has an impact on society, on environment. At the same time, the environment also is having an impact on the organization. And what the investors want is a financial value to it. Now, if you have to put a financial value, you need extremely accurate predictions, extremely accurate data around IoTs and sensors. And now industry is using AI tools and digital tools very, very extensively. During the course of the discussion, we will discuss more about this. But I just wanted to leave you all with the thought that there is a lot happening in this space, and many of you are pretty sure will have something or the other to do in your lives with sustainability and AI. Thank you so much.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Professor Ghosh, for being with us. I remember that when we were building up the Newtown, the only smart city in West Bengal, the only platinum-rated green city, and we had tied up with the IIT Kharagpur in making cycle lanes and public cycle apps in Newtown. And we had also tied up with IIT Kharagpur for making or evaluating Newtown as a happy city. But more of that later if we get a chance. My point is as follows. Already the world is urban. More than 50% of people in the world live in cities. It is projected that by 2070, by the time our renewable energy target is to produce 500 gigawatts of power, in India. By 2070, they say 2/3, that is 67% of the world's population will be staying in the cities. Already, if you think of the winter time, the amount of pollution, if you think of all year round in Delhi, the amount of haze and pollution that is happening is not only hampering health, but also hampering investment. I know several very good brains refusing to come and work out of Delhi and Bangalore and Gurgaon and other cities because of poor sustainable conditions.
You can switch over to the renewable energy. Even 20 years ago, when peak parity doesn't exist, then what will be the cost of the energy? So we require to see that the lifestyle gets better and also it achieves the sustainability. For this reason, cost-effective solutions is definitely is one of the need. You know, for this reason, India has a very great examples. I take two of my schools came from a African country who did PhD under me, and their AIDS was a pandemic. They required to take medicine from the Pfizer, and that was a huge cost. As the Indian company penetrates, those drugs came down to the 1/10 of the price. And they were personally telling me that it was a great boon to them and they have saved millions of them. Unfortunately, if we try to import the sustainable technology from abroad, well, all my students work in abroad, but we failed to retain them. That is our problem. So like in Kharagpur, it is written dedicated to the service of the nation. People ask me which nation when I was a student. So, joke apart. So, if lithium batteries are manufactured, recycled in China or Japan, it won't be sustainable. We have to have our research, our development, and we have to retain our manpower. At present, like Sen was telling, why people don't want to come in India. There are traffic congestions, there are poor air quality, and the frictions with the people. So many people are everywhere. So definitely one solution is that we require to go for the rapid urbanization.
I am very fond of giving this example, which I am sure a lot of students would also know, that the AI once threw up a conclusion that the country with the highest per capita consumption of chocolate has produced the largest number of Nobel laureates. You don't associate Nobel Prize with eating chocolate, but this is a correlation that AI has found out, and if you think really deep, though it is not causal relationship, probably they are rich countries, so they eat more chocolate, therefore rich countries spend more on research, and probably that is how this has come. So what AI can do, and we have done in a very limited and preliminary form in Newtown, and I wish future cities can look at it, was data correlation in unconnected sectors. What we did, Newtown, it's a vehicle NKDA of which I was the chairman. It collects property taxes, like Howrah Municipal Corporation collects property taxes, Kolkata Municipal Corporation. Anybody who owns a building has to pay tax. Now, for the new city of Newtown, we found that the collection of property tax was not according to expectation. The reason somebody was saying that the owners don't stay, there is no one to pay, so it's all vacant houses. So what we looked at the data from the WBSCDCL, that is the electrical meter. And we said whose meter is turning in the last quarter. So if the meter is rising, but you have no time to pay property tax, that means there is a problem. And we actually sent people to such pinpointed flats or apartments, and we were able to collect additional several crores of rupees using this correlation. But this was not a use of AI. This was plain manual data. You move to data Excel sheets and try to compare. Now, I would suggest that in a city scenario, with AI, with a data lake kind of a thing, where all kinds of data are thrown in, including chocolate consumption and Nobel Prize winning, for example, with a tongue-in-cheek comment, there is so much new discoveries that we can make that can make a city greener, brighter, and livable. So the first thing that I would say to Professor Ghosh's query, that AI can do good data correlation if we give the data there and do it. When I was talking to the Indian Statistical Institute one morning, and in a seminar like this, I challenged the students. ISI, they are supposed to do a lot of calculations and statistics. I said, you know why dengue happens? Dengue, the vector-borne diseases. If there is water stagnant, there will be mosquitoes. And if it is dark places, there will be mosquitoes. And there are n number of theories about how you can get dengue. If you live too high up, you are safe. But first 4 floors, the mosquito can climb, etc. So my point was, we already know why this mosquito and why dengue happens. Yet people lose lives. So I challenge the statistical people by saying, why don't you devise an AI model?
AI and digital is a great tool for that. And I started by talking about the BRSR reporting. That also comes with a very interesting requirement now called reasonable assurance. And what that means is that there has to be a data traceability and trail as you go forward, so that there's a verifiable trail, for example, from the source of the electricity bill or a sensor, so that the channel of truth can be verified. So companies now have, instead of spreadsheets, a centralized data lakes, centralized digital repository connected with IoT sensors, the ERP systems like SAP and Oracle, and the utility portals are automatically ingested into this entire data system. You also have, every data point tagged with what is called data, as you would know, that who entered it, when, what was the supporting evidence. And then there is a granular connectivity. It is not that you only talk about an annual data that in this conference, how much total energy was consumed throughout the year with so many conferences happening. It is how much was consumed right now in the last 1 hour. To be able to use that data and to give the correct representation of the figure for various reasons for planning and so on. Now, TCS has been integrating ESG data across its global operations for quite some time to track carbon diversity. Then Unilever, as you know, very large company, very sustainable company, they have been using satellite monitoring and blockchain to track the supply chain, specifically the palm oil, right? Then you have now, as we were talking about, greenwashing, and what exactly is it? It is basically, claiming selectively and highlighting the good and not the bad, right? It's partial reporting. So, a number of ways that, AI can help. One is anomaly detection. Machine learning algorithms can flag some outliers. Like if somebody is claiming that we have become very energy efficient, but you really did not spend any money on energy efficiency and there is no visible energy efficiency measures, it will flag that. Similarly, cross-verification, AI can triangulate data, okay? Which is, let us say, if you understand scope 1 emission, which is the emission that a factory makes within its premises, and it is saying that it has reduced, but the procurement data is showing that, fuel consumption has not come down. So these checks and balances are helping to kind of clean up the data. And there, of course, is the real-time transparency, so that there is very hard to cherry pick. The auditors can easily check that if you have cherry picked data and provided a very one-sided kind of a narration. Coming to AI washing, okay, a lot of companies, are using the term, we are using sophisticated AI models, but actually what they're doing is basic automation or simple statistics. So that is unacceptable. So you have now what is called model explainability, which is explainable AI. I think you all are aware of it, which is called XAI. And any ESG projection or risk rating has to explain what kind of model that has been used. Similarly, you have algorithmic audits. The EU AI Act is something which has influenced sustainability in a big way. Okay? And the auditing of the AI tools itself, it has been now a requirement that you could not just say that I got this from an AI tool and put it in the public domain as a claim. So that would be treated as AI wash, right? And you have here a risk-based hierarchy in this AI Act, very interestingly, where all the critical areas like climate action, social prediction, you have to do what is called a conformity assessment to understand bias of the AI models being used. Okay? And as Professor Ghosh rightly said, that AI itself has to be green. So the energy efficiency directive in Europe and the data centers, they have to now declare water usage, waste heat utilization, and power usage effectiveness. Accuracy and robustness of the models for these high-risk AIs, they are calling all the climate models and the predictive, social predictive models as high risk. And they are saying that the appropriateness level of the accuracy has to be determined. For example, if you have hyperlocal flood risk modeling on the basis of which you are taking financial decisions, the AI logic must be robust and traceable. So, just to conclude, where in our own country, with the BRSR reporting, as I mentioned, and it is not just the organizations themselves, it is the entire value chain for the top 1,000 companies. It is it has already spurred a significant amount of robustness in the data using a variety of tools which all need to go through a similar process like the EU AI Act. And lastly, to conclude, all this has to be API-led reporting to allow regulators to pull data. In the future, you will have very seamless transfer of data, something called interoperability. So any information which a corporate is using, in the sustainability department, the finance department, and the IT department must understand and use the same language. And the government should be able to pull that data for looking at compliance and for noting greenwashing. Thank you so much.
Everyone here uses large language models, at least the students. So they are very helpful, they do quite a lot of work, but they also have a cost. They take huge amounts of energy. And we actually did a study where found that these large language models are generating too much text. So suppose a simple question like, what is the capital of France? If I ask a human being, they will say Paris, or they will say at least at most the capital of France is Paris. But if you ask this to an LLM will say the capital of France is Paris, it's a beautiful city of this and this area, having this population. Okay, all this information is great, but it comes at a cost. Cost is energy. So we found that often large language models they are generating more than 10 times the response length as a human being. So there is, the AI has a cost to it. And so estimates say that ChatGPT, every day, ChatGPT requires energy equal to 17,000 households in the US. The US households are as well, in general, higher energy than say an Indian household. 17,000, that kind of households energy ChatGPT takes every day. And ChatGPT is a small model now. Now there are a lot of larger models. So yeah, just like AI can be used to help sustainability, AI has its own cost also, which I guess people like us have to take care of that. Okay, so just like AI, I'll come back to Professor Bhattacharya. So just like AI, another buzzword today is, or not today, quite a last few years is electric vehicles. So maybe I would just like to know that, how effective actually are electric vehicles? Like, do they truly reduce life cycle emissions, or are they just shifting the problem from one place to another?
Is extractions of the lithium is green? Okay, not how much energy to put for actually making the usable lithium and its recyclability. So these are really the challenge. So of course you can reduce the AQI of the city, but overall greenhouse effect will not reduce. Definitely you require to integrate more and more renewable energy to the grid. But that has its own challenge. People like me and you have to address that problem. Because we have a conventional power plant, we know its mechanism very well. We had a load side fluctuation previously. It is to decide, or I to decide which light to turn on and turn off. For this load will fluctuate. Now generation also will fluctuate. So you have to have a fluctuating generation and you got a fluctuating load. Just recall in the COVID time, or ministers decided to actually switch on and a switch off light for half an hour. Then two of my students working in a power grid corporation, they sit on the simulation 7 days to actually mimic the performance. And ultimately hydropower has to be reduce the generation. Again, it has to be a different kind of setup. So think about that, all of a sudden your shedding has occurred. You have a peak load. So, and ultimately greatest stress on the AI is reducing the conventional knowledge of the electrical system. Unfortunately, domain knowledge is very much important. Domain knowledge, if you are, many of you are fond of junk food, so I take the example of the pizza. So domain knowledge is a pizza bread. There the chiseling and etc. can be the AI. That makes this thing sweet and everything better. But problem lies once you cut down the thermal power stations, you got an electrical inertia, something called. So if the fault occurs, all of a sudden you have a rotary kind of solution. That's why you move it to the power electronics. And how instantaneously demand fluctuation is a challenge. So these are the few problems in the domain of the electricity, with the penetration of the renewable. So another aspect is that power quality. So once we convert AC to DC, then we got a different kind of problem. Then you like take us my campus in IIT Roorkee. Once the student leaves, that become a virtual, that become a source. Previously it was a load. So all of a sudden that entity become a source. So this kind of fluctuating kind of system, of course, AI can help decide what is the problem of it, technology can be there. So now with the penetrations of the renewable energy, there is a distribution source. We have to take care of that. Otherwise, power system stability is a challenge. Okay. And thereafter, all of a sudden, you don't have any electrical load. You have to put a charging station, very fast charging station. We have a mindset that I can move 600 kilometers in 10 minutes. I can fill up my petrol or diesel by 10 minutes. Same we want. Same way, actually, now we are talking about the e-taxis. Because Sen was telling that traveling to the Bangalore, and just yes, I was Bangalore, I was traveling to the airport to the Whitefield. It took 2.5 hours. So then people are talking about the e-taxi. So you fly. So and it will be charged while it will be charged in 10 minutes. Pick up the passenger and it will go to the different spot. So this is something that we are looking for. But that all problem lies. One aspect is the environment. You try to make it an environment green, and while you cut down your fossil fuel based operation, that has got a really challenge. For this reason, we require to have a storage. But storage comes with the cost. Storage is not free. Okay, and then for this system, there is a very big challenge how to address that. storage, definitely, are you shifting? Because we're talking about on the vehicle level. Now we are talking about the problem of the grid level, gigawatt level storage. To actually take care of the changes of the load pattern. Of course, prediction plays a very important role. Like we have sorry, uh, I don't have to say channel, they know everything. So we have also the electricity market. Renewable energy get forecasted in like the next half an hour, next even 6 months after that, we will give you this much of electricity. And that is basically very efficient AI-based prediction. And based on that, we know that this will be our prediction. Now, till now, domestic people are wept of having the differential tariff. They require to make the differential tariff to actually shape the behavior of the person. Like the washing machine, dishwasher, why it is required? Why can't we do that things once plenty of energy is available? That itself will actually try to shift the loading pattern. So, purposes I told you that there is a psychological aspect also. So, technological challenges, psychological aspect, and the adaptation. I personally find that throwing anything in street actually I take care of. Many people don't bother. So now it is not by Swachh Bharat, because you all know that. But many people find that it's sick, that culture means. So that's something we require to adopt. So for this reason, sustainability and the technical challenges, and again, if the lithium is a problem, why don't you go to the sodium ion battery? We have oceans in our name, our country's name. So, and because by knowing that lithium tankers, that there China has taken the strategic control over it. Like the same politics based on the OPEC, same politics will be played there. So your supply chain will be choked. So we have to find a newer material, newer technology, newer adaptation system. Ultimately, make the ship very uh, very comfortable to most of us, and also doesn't affect the last man. This is something we required to achieve, Technocat required to achieve, and share, we require your support. Thank you.
What are some interesting things that can be done in an existing city? Just to put an example, you know that, I mean, there are some measures which Indian government have tried at some points. Like, if I remember correctly, at some point in Delhi, they made a rule that, half of the cars will be allowed every day. Yeah, so cars with odd last two digits, the card number, will be allowed on one day. Even numbered registration plates will not be allowed. And the next day, even numbered registration plates will be allowed, odd numbers won't be allowed. So that is one kind of step. The other kind of step is, giving some benefits. Like in US, they have some cities, they have a separate lane for cars which have more than two people. In US, all cars, or most of the cars have just one person. There, if three people are there in a family, they have three cars. But then the government said that if there is carpooling, so multiple people taking the same car and commuting, then there is some advantage for that kind. Or in some cities, actually, public transport is free, because you can take public transport free so that you don't use your own car. Of course, these are not possible, maybe not practical in a state like India, but what can be some practical things that can be done in an existing city to make it a bit more sustainable?
I would just request you to have you make an assessment of what is happening in the US-Israel-Iran war. I mean, one word destroys all that we are talking about. Think of the bombarding that is happening. We talk so much about green buildings, platinum-rated cities, and Acres of buildings are demolished, and not to talk of the carbon dioxide emission with every bomb. So I would be very interested if IIT or Roorkee or Intueri can take up a project of what it means from the sustainability point of view, the war that we are living, because of which we are not able to cook properly at our homes, LPG power, etc. So, what is the sustainability? We are talking of sustainability, and we are ignoring the elephant in the room. So that's one observation, nothing much. The other thing that I would like to say, triggered by Professor Ghosh's comments and the other panelists, is that what can you do with existing cities? Now, one thing that can be done, I am also associated with a company as its chairman called Sahaj Retail, which essentially does help small village level entrepreneurs be banking correspondents and other things. There is no bank branch in a village, so this person is authorized to disburse money and take it, including giving of loans. So I was present one day in this point, it is, I wouldn't say shop, it's a kiosk kind of a thing. And there comes a elderly person and he says, I need some 6,000 rupees or something. And the VLE, they call it, village level entrepreneur, he asked him, what is a civil score? He doesn't know anything, but he has got an application and it shows that his civil score was 580. And the VLE said, since it is less than 600, I cannot give you unsecured loans, it is banned. The point I am trying to say is in the vast majority of the urban dwellers, everybody is doing something throughout the day. As somebody said, we are throwing the wrapper, we are using plastic, we are not segregating solid waste and garbage, and this is all leading to a flashpoint in terms of sustainability. Can we assign, in the way Professor Ghosh also said, there is no separate road possibility in Indian cities, but what we can give loyalty points to anybody who, through an AI system, through CCTVs, through other data input, whoever is doing environmental friendly activities. If you are throwing the ice cream wrapper in a dustbin, in the proper compartment, you get X points. If you are using a plastic bag that is not recyclable, you lose Y points, so on and so forth. If you are planting trees, you get X plus points. If you are wearing recycled clothes, you are getting X plus points, so on and so forth. These days, AI can track you all whatever you are doing. Your Google knows more about you than you know about yourself. Just try to Google yourself. Now that it has teamed up with Gemini, so it will know everything about it. So using these techniques, can we give loyalty points to each citizen in an existing city like Kolkata and Howrah and whoever, and so what, I get a good point, you give me a medal, no point. If you get X number of points, you get a loan, business loan at less interest. If you get Y plus amount of loyalty points in terms of sustainability, you get a tax rebate from the government in terms of property tax, for example. So you get the broad drift. Techniques and technologies with the help of AI now are available with existing cities where each citizen's environmental footprint can be tracked. And if you have a poor footprint, then you shall be penalized, not directly, but your interest rate, you do a fixed deposit in the bank, you will get a less amount of thing. Senior citizens get 12.5% interest, but your environmental score is less, so you get 7%. You will be incentivized without any tax burden, without any burden on the government. So this is one thought that I am having, and I'll be very happy if IIT or Roorkee or Intueri or indeed NHSM can take up a project like this. I'm very happy to be an advisory mentor to this. I know how it works. The other thing that I would say can happen is after I would like to give you a small example that I went to Krishnanagar. Krishnanagar, you know, is only about 150 to 100 kilometers. We went by road for a project and we had to have lunch. The restaurant was called Marty Hut. I mean, Jarina, if you have any of you have been there, it's completely run by women. It was fully crowded. Food is very good. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 p.m. We were all hungry, waiting for our orders. And what I find Ononna, which is a rudimentary robot, coming to the table, actually not a piece of exaggeration, to my table, and then some human servers putting it on the table as to this is what you wanted. So my point is, very simple technologies now even, this was started in 2024, today is 2026. 2 years ago, in a women-run restaurant, not in Kolkata, in faraway Krishnanagar, where customers are being served by a rudimentary robot with wheels, but it can navigate the crowd, it can navigate the tables, it can say, please excuse me, I am serving, and I was pretty impressed. None of those very, very fancy things, very preliminary, but it's serving its purpose. Why I am bringing this in the sustainability and in the present context?
Programming course, the basic programming course is taught to about 1,000 students every semester in IIT Kharagpur. So that means the question papers that we print, 1,000 copies are printed. So I could reduce the question paper by 2 pages. I felt happy that I have saved 2,000 pages. And again, in the market in IIT Kharagpur, I mean, maybe there are some exceptions, but most of the shops have stopped giving plastic bags. They are now giving paper bags or cloth or jute or something like that. So, here, like even like any university or any a small campus also can take such steps, or we ourselves can take such steps towards the environment. Even switching off the lights and fans when we don't need them, those can also help. So I think what Mr. Sen said is very important. Behavioral changes. Like if we keep environment as an important thought in our mind, then several things can be achieved.
Villages can never replace cities. Cities give you all facilities, the 3 A's, education, entertainment, and employment. People will come to the cities because of networking opportunities. Globally, that is the trend. So it is no point trying to say that I drive 200 kilometers away to work. Why can't work come here? Work will not come. 65% of India's GDP are produced in the cities. So to just answer your question, my pastor, other panelists will surely have a different perspective. I would say that it is not that villages can have employment, health, education, and all the other facilities, including entertainment facilities. It cannot. What is needed is planned cities so that, therefore, 37% to 67% doubling of people will come, but not yet slum. A doubling of population will happen, but there are enough housing. A doubling of population will happen, but there is less congestion on the road.
With the huge amount of air pollution, etc., which is coming into the cities, some people are choosing to work remotely. A very small population maybe. We do not know if this population will grow in the future. That's too far-fetched to suggest. Over to you.
We have seen it is possible in the COVID days. Okay. So when we are not allowed to travel.
European Union AI Act, for example, it is actually looking into that whatever models you are using, like I was addressing, you cannot be disregarding, human emotion, let's say, or you are deviating away from societal values, right? This much is very clear that the law is going in that direction. Now, what final shape it might take, and who should be penalized, etc. Honestly speaking, I'm not an expert. I'll not be able to,
Yes, sir. But it was clearly mentioned by the Claude AI that the company is not going to collaborate with such kind of departments which can be based on the hard AI, totally emotionless. So they have rejected the collaboration with the Pentagons. But why ChatGPT OpenAI has accepted? That my question is. Is there any global organization which can take kind of decisions? Because it become very unsafe for the public, for the human beings.
This is the issue of the jurisdictions. Okay, one issue, of course, any, any AI tools in a particular jurisdiction has to obey the land of the law. So of course, has to work in a jurisdiction. Of course, AI has its bias. Definitely, I have asked the question of Chimbarkani and the generation AI. I found the bias.
Yes, sir. I have also observed some questions I have put it. They have not answered. Yeah.
Brain data bias, but answer. So of course, about different jurisdictions or independence comes with the legitimate limitation. The basics of the ultimately who does it, that is the questions. Okay, whether Pentagon does it, here IT Ministry of IT does it, so they should put a legitimate restriction. Should not ask or give some questions which is actually glorifying something. We cannot actually allow a small kasab to be glorified, right? It will hurt sensitivity of the millions of Indians.
Read the book Empire of AI. You will see how the world functions. If you try to put guardrails, US is not going to allow it. European Union has tried. India has been told, don't put government conditions or we will stop ChatGPT from sending its software to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
How we design our circular models. I'll just give you a very interesting example because this is something I work very closely in. You see, the bottle that we use here, this is a PET bottle, right? Polyethylene terephthalate. It is not just AI, it is a science, the polymer science which is important to creating jobs. It employs about 2 crore people in India. The person who collects this bottle every day, it is a very valuable bottle, earns 20 rupees per kilo. And the person who bales it gets 40 rupees a kilo. The person who shreds it gets 80 rupees a kilo. When it becomes yarn, it takes a value of 150 rupees a kilo. And finally, when it becomes textile, it becomes 250 rupees a kilo.